Hello guys, at the end of FPL game week 3, I was able to accumulate a total of 53 points, and at the end of game week 1, game week 2, and game week 3, I was able to accumulate a total of 170 points, leaving me in 1,579 position globally. Now, I believe a lot of managers are above me and also below me, but most managers are now frustrated. If you're among those managers that are frustrated or you are tired of the FPL challenge already, you don't have to be. This is just game week 3. Anything can happen. This is the most important time you need to re-strategize, plan, buy and sell players. We are currently on international break. So before the start of game week 4, this is the time where you need to plan and boost your squad in order to gain more points. Now, before the start of game week 4, here are 5 things you need to avoid in order to gain more points. As a manager, there are 5 things you need to put in place in your team so that you can be able to avoid dropping points again in the coming week game. The first thing you need to do is to avoid selecting all players from a particular club. Now, FPL challenge is about point accumulation rather than club support. Don't go and pick all your players from a particular club. Why? Reason being that the day that club or that your team did not perform very well, is going to affect your points. It's going to affect you as an FPL manager. Take for instance, in the last game week, Burnley played against Manchester United, and I saw a manager who selected all his team, all his players from Burnley. And I guess now by now that manager will have a low point because definitely because of what happened and because Manchester United won Burnley, he will definitely not be able to get enough points. So once you are selecting your team, ensure you don't pick players, all the players for a particular team. Look at for players that are best in their respective clubs and select them randomly and add to your own squad. Don't make that mistake of selecting all your players from a particular club. The second thing you need to avoid is early making of transfers. Most player managers in game week 1 sold virtually all their players because they didn't perform well in game week 1. I can remember in game week 1, João Pedro did not perform very well, and a lot of managers transferred him out of their team. I have João Pedro in my team. I did not transfer him because I can't judge a player's performance by just one single game. So I left him, and luckily for me, at the end of game week 2, he scored and gave an assist. End of game week 3, he also scored and he gave me a lot of points. So if you have a player in your team and that player is not currently performing well, be patient with him. Give him more game week before you make your transfers, because there are possibilities that that player is going to perform better in subsequent week. Don't say because other managers are ranking higher than you want to sell all your players to get the kind of players they have in their team. No, each game week is very different. So a player can perform very well in this game week and may not perform excellently well in the other game week. So you have to be patient, trust the decisions you've made, trust your planning, trust your tactics, and stick with your players. Give them more time to perform. The next thing you will need to avoid is unnecessary use of wildcard. Most managers use their wild cards wrongly in game week 1 and game week 2 and even game week 3. Here are 3 conditions or 3 situations where you can use your wild card. The first condition or the first scenario is if your players have a double game week in a particular week. Secondly, if none of your players are playing at all in a particular game week. And thirdly, if your players are playing against each other. These are the conditions where you can probably make use of your wild cards or your free hits. The fourth thing you need to do is to always have a backup bench. If you don't have a strong bench, there are possibilities that something might happen and you may not be able to rank very high or very well in the other game week. Take for instance, before the start of game week 3, Cole Palmer had a groin injury. And luckily, I have Cole Palmer and also have Dewsbury Hall. So what I did was I substituted Kopama for Dewsbury Hall, and eventually Dewsbury Hall came out and it gave me 12 points at the end of the game week 3. So ensure you have a very strong backup bench. The reason is that if any player picks up an injury, you could have some players in your bench that you can be able to pick and also substitute for those players that are weak or currently not playing for that game week. Now, the fifth mistake is to avoid wrong transfers. Imagine selling Mohamed Salah to get Mbeumo. Don't get me wrong, Mbeumo is a very good player, but you can't. And Mo Salah has not been consistent for the past 3 games. So if you use that scenario to judge, you may likely sell Mohamed Salah for Mbeumo, knowing fully well that Mbeumo is already active, is already playing well. But you have to be futuristic. Kopama has been one of the players that have been giving people points for the past 3 seasons in FPL. So if you sell him, there are possibilities that he will bounce back and start performing well. Now, another mistake most managers made was selling Cole Palmer just because he got injured. Cole Palmer got injured, but that doesn't mean he has a long-lasting injury. He's definitely going to play against. So if you sell him, this might likely be a costly mistake for you. What if the price increases later? You don't have enough funds to buy players, or if you buy players, your points will be deducted, which will affect your overhead. So what you need to do is to avoid wrong transfers because it's definitely going to affect you and going to affect your ranking. So these are the 5 things you need to avoid. So if you are new to my channel, ensure you click on the subscription button and notification bell icon to get notified each time I release a new video.